All right, Kenman here, and today I've got my Kizer Genie here. It's a nice, kind of close to full-size knife, good fidget factor. The front flipper works really good, can flick it out. It's an all-around good knife, but it's just kind of missing something. It's kind of lacking some color. And that's what we're going to do. Today is die project number 47. Woo! Before we start, I'm not sponsored by anyone. I purchase everything at retail price. I do these videos because I love discussing knives and sharing info and ideas with others. If you have any questions or thoughts, please feel free to comment below. All right, we've done 46 of these. Scratch that, rewind it, play it back. 45, 44 of them. I've got some on deck that haven't been done, and then there's that die project 15 that's kind of in limbo. But we're going to take a before shot right now. You'll see the before and after later. But this Kizer Genie is a nice little knife. I'm going to get out my standard setup here. Get our last looks, set the dining room table, and we will cook up this bird. I don't know. All right, there it is. Come on. Click. Let's tear it apart. All right, the Genie is a cool little knife. I haven't carried it too much yet, but I am kind of excited to. I bought it for the die project, and when I get knives for the project, I tend to not carry them. Kind of they sit in the stack waiting to get ready to get done, and so I kind of look at them, and I like to look over at that pile for like inspiration on like which one am I going to do next, etc., etc. And so because of that, what happens is I end up not carrying a new knife for a while if it's in that die project, and it just kind of sits there. So I don't really get familiar with it as much as some of the other ones. Generally, other knives, I mean, I don't know, I still could carry them before I do the project, but I tend to just kind of put them aside and start thinking about the inspiration for the die. But with other knives, generally I get it, I then will immediately carry it like the next day, do like my daily pocket check and show it off and test it out and kind of start getting a feel for it. But in cases like this, like I said, haven't really messed around with it too much. I know it's got a nice action to it. It feels good. All the Kizers I've been getting have been really, really great. Okay. Got to pay attention when you take a knife apart. You want to make sure you've got everything how you want it. Get it back together the same way. All right. Very simple and clean. Got our little spacers there. And then I always like to look at the bearings. Look at this. Looks like this one, the open side is away from the blade, and this one, the open side is towards the blade. That is actually a first. Generally, they're put on exactly the same on both sides, but that kind of shows that in some cases, maybe it doesn't really matter, which I've said in the past, but I wasn't 100% sure in some cases. Look at how these liners are recessed in there real nice. I did get a CNC machine. That's going to be something that's going to be a little bit harder to do in the future, but I look forward to trying to make some scales and do some fun things. All right, so we've got the scales off. We've got them ready to go. I am going to go kind of wipe these down, clean them up, and get them ready for the die. I will see you over there. Boom. All right, and now we are here. We've got the die heated up. I've got them on these hooks ready to go. Let's get them in and get rolling. First thing you want to do is splash them around. Make sure there's no air bubbles. If there's an air bubble on the scale, that is an area where the die is not hitting it as even, and then it won't die there the same. And if you want a nice even coat, you want to kind of stir them around, make sure there's no pockets. All right, that is in. We are going. Here's a few that I've done. This was actually that same color of micarta, and I did this one with some blue and some green, and then did some sanding to it to kind of give it that weathered, kind of worn in, natural looking color. Turned out really good. I'm pretty happy with it. Another one I did real recently, this micarta was a very sandy green, and I put this crazy vibrant yellow on there, and it ended up turning out this just disgusting mustard, but I love it. I think it looks cool. Happy about it. Adding some color to a knife can be really neat. If you haven't seen these videos and you enjoy them, hit that like button. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. This one just turned out spectacular. This was white. The backspacer also was white, but that red now against the black Migron Parasum just looks super good. I ordered a couple more of these. I'm going to dye some more of them. They look fantastic. All right, let's sneak a peek. We're doing apricot today, which is definitely going to turn it more brown than I was hoping it looks. Shoot. And in it goes. Good thing I got a stick for my stick. Alright, these are, yeah, I wasn't sure because it's kind of a darker, dirtier micarta. It doesn't really, you're not going to get these bright kind of colors like that when you're starting off with something kind of dull like this. You'll be able to add color to it, but you can only add to what's already there. You can't really bleach it out and then come up with its own unique color. I know this was slightly green and that yellow really overpowered it, but you see how it's got that kind of gross, kind of greenish, pukey yellow to it. So it's definitely, there was an effect. All right, got this just big thing of water here. Generally, like when you take them out and look at them, there's a lot of dye on there, so you're not really getting a true color. So what I like to do is go into a rinse like this. You can kind of stir them around and wipe them off a little bit and get an idea of what you're looking at. We might have to do a sanding, weathering project on this. I'm not really sure. That's the other thing. When micarta is wet, it is not true to the color that it's going to be. I think I'm going to stop here. It is definitely darker than I was hoping. In a non-orange way, it's kind of just really kind of dark brown, bronzy, which, you know, ultimately might end up looking great. That yellow was kind of a happy accident. I was trying to get it to be kind of an ugly pea green kind of a color, and it ended up that yellow, so that was a fun little mistake, I guess, if you call it a mistake. I do notice that with micarta, the dye kind of likes to sit on the surface, so I'm getting some extra rub going on here on these, just to make sure you get all that dye off of there. All right, grab myself a towel, move this water back out of my way. We can kind of take a look and see how they are when they're still wet, and then you'll be able to notice that change. Okay. Interest. They're almost maroon. Got some hairs on there, sorry about that. But they kind of have a maroon quality. It's kind of almost brown, rusty, interesting. We may have to sand that. So yeah, take a good look. We are going to go to the table when these are dry, and you'll see the difference there. Boom. All right, you saw how I decided to go ahead and sand them a little bit after they dried. Now they've got this kind of weathered, worn aged kind of look. What do we think? Let's get it back together, not waste any time. Finish this thing up. Die project number 47. Can you believe it? Okay, so captive pivot goes right through there. Then, oh, we're going to bump the old camera, sorry. Put that one bearing on. We have the blade stop. Actual blade itself with the other bearing. We got these spacers. Okay. Let's see how we do. Pretty simple design on this one. Fairly easy squeeze back together. Doesn't always, don't jinx it now. Just because it looks good right now doesn't mean we won't have things like this. Falls off, hits the ground, rolls under somewhere, and we lose it. Alright, when you put a knife back together, you got to be careful about blades centering. So why does that look weird? Looks like it's not straight, but there we go. I don't know, I heard a little click, something shifted there, but we're good to go. Okay, the body screws on this one are 6s. I'm just getting everything kind of moderately buttoned up here. Then I'll make sure that blade is nice and centered, and we'll tighten everything else back down. Oops. Here we go. This is interesting. I was going for an orange. It ended up a little bit more of a light red, but it does have some orange in it, so I like the way the weathering ended up turning out. Shoot. These all the same? No, it's those. Okay, yeah. It was like, wait, usually the pocket clips or screws are a little different, and they are. All these screws kind of have rounded heads with the flat contact surface point, and the, oh, here we go. The pocket clip screws have the, I don't know what you call it, the tapered end, so that they sit more flush. All right, here's that part that I was saying. It's not over till it's over. Pocket clip can only go on one side on this particular knife, which is fine. But as a lefty, I do appreciate when you can have that option to do the swap. Okay, we'll get that out of here. Now we need to tighten everything down. It has a captive pivot, so I only need to tighten this side. I'm going to over tighten it a little bit, which generally pushes the blade a little to the left, which is good because then when you loosen it back up, it will usually fall right back to center. I like to go back and forth on each one a couple of times and make sure. Actually, I screwed this up because this is one of those, I don't really have too many knives, but notice this screw right here is underneath where that pocket clip was. So in order for me to tighten this up, I have to tighten this one up like that before I put the pocket clip back on, because once I put this clip on, it kind of hides that screw and prevents access, or no longer allows access to it. So there was a little interesting. Generally, they'll just have this back screw that I'm screwing right now would be the one that goes into that hole, and they just combine it. So this is an interesting different one where it actually has a completely secondary screw. All right, now we're going to loosen the pivot back up just a little bit, and then you want to open it and make sure that it's still solid when it's open. You don't want any play when she's open. All right, we are there. Excellent. Done deal. Die project number 47. Let's take some final looks here. So I always, like I said, I took that before photo, so I'll put the before photo up there. So we've got our before and after. How do we think of the results? How do we? Sure. So I did sand it down a little bit, kind of revealed a little bit of lines and made some of the edges a little bit darker and lighter and kind of scuffed up. Give it a little quality that I kind of enjoy. Action seems to be still great. Front flipper works really good. Flicks out nice. That is solid. And that blade is centered how we want it. There we go. What do we think of this one? I enjoy it. I like these kind of lines and this dirty kind of handle. Makes me quite happy. Reminds me actually the color very similar to the Cobalt. This one's definitely more of an orange, rusty. This is kind of that more red, but check the video for it up there. I dig these kind of weathered looks in these Kizers. These are actually kind of similar Kizers. But yeah, use that affiliate link down in the description if you want to support the channel. Pick yourself up a Kizer. Do a die for yourself. Here we are. Completed Genie. Stay sharp. We'll see you soon.